So we have already built most of the character archetypes that we have available for the Mystic class. This time around, we are going to take a look at what are the best options. Remember that all of those subclasses, archetypes, and different builds for the Mystic class, which is a mod class, you can find them here in the channel. We have built mostly everything. Now this time around, let's talk about multi-classing. But beforehand, a lot of people are concerned because in many videos I have said that this is a mod class that comes from the mod manager, and that it's surely going to be coming to console. A lot of people are asking me like, I don't think that this is going to be coming to console because it should be a little different. Well, remember that the mod manager is going to be coming to consoles in October. If you go to mod manager right here, this is the class that we're using, the Mystic class. Remember that you also have to have the expansion for the Mystic class. However, if you go here to the mods that I have installed, they have already stated which are the mods that are going to be available on consoles right here. So for example, you see the mod, the blood mage, it doesn't state that it's available on consoles. However, the Mystic class will be available on console, and the Mystic expansion will be available on console once the mod manager launches on October this next coming month on console. So you rest assured that this is going to be coming to consoles as well. So yeah, there we go. Now, remember that multi-classing is somewhat of a risk and reward, and it's very difficult to multi-class. You do have to have proper knowledge of the game, because, yeah, I mean, sometimes the returns that you're going to get because of your investment might not be that good as it would be just a simple mono-classing. This time around, since this is a homebrew class, this is not a class that it's on the 5th edition or on the Dungeons and Dragons baseline of everything. It's a little trickier to multi-class it because it has different resources. So you're using psychic points. You have to take advantage of the psychic points, and you have to learn, you have to know when is it in your best advantage and in your best interest to multi-class or not. And I am going to also give you advices on how could this work as you level up, because I know that a lot of people would be wondering, is this viable as you level up, or is this only viable on the end game? I'm going to be answering all of those questions as well. Let's just talk about how are we going to begin, or at the very least, how should I think that it should be beginning. So we have already built an assassin. Now, one thing that I didn't like that much about that is that you do have to be making concessions while fighting on the battlefield. How can we fix that? Well, thanks to the thief on the rogue, you can have 2 bonus actions. Most of the spells to buff your character and deal damage with the Mystic, they come from bonus actions. So if we manage to get a bonus action from a rogue, that's going to be a game changer. However, we also want to keep track of our resources, which we'll discuss in a little while. The ability scores that you would want to have right here. Now, this right here, this is general advice. This is generally how your character should be looking like. However, remember that this is a class that you want to be multi-classing, that you want to be respecting, depending on your needs and depending on where you are. So for example, on Act 2 of the game, you are going to respec your character to downgrade that dexterity because you get access to the gloves of dexterity. So on Chapter 2 of the game, you can do this and then spend your points into Constitution because they are very, very important for you to sustain concentration. A lot of the buffing that we're going to deal with this character, the damage that we're going to be dealing with this character, it's going to be coming from buffing our character. And then once you reach the end game and you have access to the Psychic Brand, which is something that we'll discuss later on, you have access to the Psychic Brand, you have access to the Amulet of Constitution, you can downgrade your Constitution to the lowest level possible so that you can then allocate the rest of your points just on saving throws. So you have a lot of saving throws for Strength, Wisdom, and Charisma, and you're going to have 21 Constitution and 19 Dexterity and 20 Intelligence. That's how the endgame character character should be looking like, and those are the respects that you should be doing all throughout the playthrough. One thing also that I didn't like about the Mystic Assassin is that you don't get access to proficiencies with sleight of hand and stealth, so that character was just pure damage. This can be your thief as well. You can be breaking locks with this character, you can be stealing with this character, and it's still going to be as efficient, and it's actually going to be more deadlier than the regular Mystic Assassin that we have already previously built. You're going to continue on leveling up your rogue until you reach level 3, so you can get the chosen subclass thief, because this is going to give you an extra fast hands, which means that you get one additional bonus action. At this point, you can decide if you're going to still be a level 4 rogue right here to get the extra Warcaster. On the other hand, if you start multi-classing your character into the Mystic right here, on level 12 you would be getting access to level 7 spells, Mystic spells, that otherwise you wouldn't be able to reach if you don't multi-class right here. So my advice for this specific purpose, yes, we are going to be losing that one feat right here, but on return we are going to get a level 7 spell, which is going to potentialize our damage that much more. So my advice is that right here at level 4 you multi-class into the Mystic, and you are going to be taking the Order of the Soul Knife, the psionic discipline that you're going to take as you multi-class right here. It's going to be the psionic skirmishing. This is going to give you access to your bread and butter, which is going to be slice and dice and blade for a weapon damage. So these two guys right here, these are going to be your bread and butter, and mostly these are the ones that you're going to be using most of the time. I'll explain to you how is this going to work on the endgame. Now once you reach level 11 with this class, you are going to get access to 2 feats, which you're going to be taking ability improvements to raise your intelligence all the way to 20. This is going to happen at level 4 from the Mystic and at level 8 from the Mystic, meaning that at level 11 you already have your intelligence on 20. At level 12 you are going to have a level 3 Rogue and a level 9 Mystic. Once you reach the level 9 of the Mystic, you get access to the final spell slot of the Mystic. Psionic disciplines that you are going to take in order of importance as you level up. The main thing that you're going to take, skirmishing. The second one that you're going to be taking, psionic weapon. The third one that you're going to be taking, transcendent form. I think that this is going to be available to you at level 6 from the Mystic. And at that point you should be able to use the spells from here. We'll talk about them in a little while. And then we have celerity. This is a little bit more situational because more often than not you're going to be using your special bonus actions to deal damage. But when you feel that you can take advantage of using basic actions, if you have a hasted character, if you can perform a little bit more damage, you have enough psychic points, then be my guest, you can basically use celerity. And the final one is going to be up to your personal preference. You can use giant growth to deal more damage. You can have the brute force to have mobility, and also another one for the mobility, it's also from the nomadic hunting, nomadic step, I'm sorry. And then also you can be taking the Crimson Harvest to regain health. So that final one is up to your personal preference. Something you need to have in mind about the Mystic class is the level spell slots that you are going to get. What is it that you're going to be able to do as you level up? So on level 4 you're in chapter 1 of the game. At that time you can use ethereal weapon to transform your weapons into pure psionic energy, and also you can be using lethal strike. This is very, very powerful, and you can upcast this up to 1 time. And then at level 2 you get access to slice and dice. Ideally this is going to be your bread and butter. This is going to be the one that you're going to be using to deal the most damage possible. As a matter of fact, this guy right here, it only costs you 2 psychic points, meaning that once you're finished buffing your character, this is just going to be like I said, just this bread and butter. This is your main means of damage. Now, once you unlock the 5 level spell slot, you're going to get access to the Blade Flurry, which is going to be AoE. This is very useful, although very costly. This is situational as well. Remember that your bread and butter is also going to be, it's always going to be slice and dice. Once you level up a little bit more, remember that your first goal to increase your dexterity is going to be the Gloves of Dexterity. As soon as you get access to the Psychic Brand at level 6 spell slot, you can dish the Gloves of Dexterity to use something different, like the Gauntlets of the Justiciar, the Dark Justiciar Gauntlets. Remember that all of the itemization is linked in the description. And then the only thing that you're going to be sacrificing to some extent, it's going to be the Spectral Arms, which is going to give you attack rolls. But also remember that you can upcast things like the Lethal Strike, which is more often than not going to give you tons and tons and tons of damage. Let's talk about buffing a character. So once you fully buff your character, you still have access to 27 psychic points. And remember that if you're using Blade Flurry and you're using Slice and Dice, you're not really using that many psychic points to deal damage. This is how much damage that you are going to reach at once you are on the endgame. Things you want to be using: Psionic Alacrity. This comes from the Skirmisher, gives you the extra attack without having to go multi-class into a martial class. And then you're going to be summoning your Soul Knives. Remember that if you don't have both of the Soul Knives equipped, it's going to be here on your inventory. These guys are going to scale your attack and damage rolls from your intelligence. The focus, the psychic focus that you're going to have is going to be the Psionic Skirmishing, because this gives you 2 weapon fighting. Very, very useful, although you can also be using the weapon 1. The Psychic Brand, remember that you'd only have access to the Psychic Brand Dexterity once you reach the level 6 of your Psychic points. And then Spectral Arms, this is not a mandatory one, it's just something that I like to have. The final one that you're going to be using, it's going to be the Augmented Weapon. This is going to increase your attack and damage rolls by 3, which is basically if your weapon, let's say if your weapon has already a +3 enchantment, this is going to be a +6. Very, very, very useful. This is the damage that you're going to be dealing. However, if you, for example, use your Lethal Strike, you want to be... This is only going to affect one single enemy. You use your bonus action to increase your Lethal Strike. Once you do such a thing, you have up to 200 damage. This is what you should be doing for the elite enemies. That's the most damage that you're going to deal. So, itemization. Remember that everything is linked on the video description. The armor of agility, there's also a similar armor like this one on the second chapter of the game. Helldust boots, the Helldust gauntlets, the strange conduit ring. Since we're always concentrated, we always at all times have 1 to 4 psychic damage. It is very important that you also use the Amulet of Constitution, because remember that we don't have that much of our constitution and we didn't take Warcaster. So if we want to sustain the damage from here and from our buffs, it is very important for us to have our Amulet of Constitution right here. The Killer Sweetheart, just to have critical hits on demand. So what's the gist of everything? How should I be playing my character? Well, more often than not, like I mentioned, what you're going to be using at all times is going to be your Slice and Dice. I advise, this is very important for you to have in mind. Always, at all times, before you actually use basic actions for basic attacks, use your bonus actions, because if you perform a basic attack, the game by default is going to use a bonus action to attack from the weapon from the offhand. You don't want you don't want for that to be happening, so you want to be Slice and Dice and then Slice and Dice. Once again, if you have a hasted character, you're going to have one basic attack. That basic attack can be Blade Flurry, although this is very costly on your psychic points, and then one more Blade Flurry or basic attack, and then from the hasted character you can get 2 more, meaning that this guy can attack up to 6 times on one single turn. Depending on the situation, if you feel that you're going to get more advantage from basic regular actions, you can be using Search of Action as well. That said, if you feel that you need to heal your character, that you have taken too much damage, you can use Search of Action to later on use something from the Crimson Harvest right here to deal damage. The lethal strike, you are going to upcast it to deal 200 damage with your main weapon by using slice and dice. However, if you feel that you have more than enough clustered up enemies, you can also upcast lethal strike to increase your damage by 70 points and then deal damage with the blade flurry. So if you do that, it's not going to be dealing as much damage as slice and dice, but it is going to be 100 damage that you are going to be dealing to a whole bunch of enemies that are clustered up together. Remember that if you took the giant form, this is also going to be increase in range. So yeah, that's ideally the gist of everything. Remember that this guy can deal tremendous amounts of damage. He can also be hiding, it could be your assassin, and if you're wondering if you're not using too many psychic points while you're fighting, every time that you kill something with this character, you're going to regain 2 psychic points because of your psychic blades. Your psychic blades regain psychic points. So you have pretty much everything covered with this character. You have your assassin, you have stealth, you have sleight of hand, you have your thief, but also this guy deals much more damage than the regular Joe assassin. Anyways, if you like the content, like and never super appreciate it, and also you that you're a gorgeous beautiful person, you're a gorgeous beautiful person, subscribe to the channel, join the Discord, have a beautiful day, and goodbye.